Dr. Ron Paul, who I voted for in the last Republican primary for president in Florida before I supported Donald Trump the following 4 years. Ron Paul has said this for years. I think he should get the Medal of Freedom.
No, I totally
right
agree.
now.
Roger Stone, the hour is over. StoneZone.com to find all your great broadcast material. You are dead on, and I'm glad we're figuring all this out.
Before Jeffrey Epstein was sentenced, for whatever reason, you have this billionaire who's just the definition of a flight risk. They don't take his passport away. And before he's sentenced, he flees the country, goes to Israel, stays there for several months, moved all his money offshore by this point. And while he's in Israel, he's telling people there that he's thinking about staying because you can actually do that. They don't extradite, Jewish criminals, at least, who flee to Israel. There's a organization called Jewish Community Watch, which is a Jewish organization that tracks pedophiles who have fled the United States to go to Israel, where there's no extradition of Jewish criminals there. And between just the years, I think it was 2010 when they opened up, and 2016, 2017 when this story was written, so a period of 6 years, there were already 60 pedophiles from the United States that had fled to Israel and were living freely there. Some of them had reoffended there and got thrown in Israeli jails. But so this is a thing, and Jeffrey Epstein was over there.
Why doesn't the U.S. government demand the government of Israel send them back?
I mean, you've been self-employed for a while, but when you weren't, was it your habit to go to your boss and make demands of them on a regular basis? I don't know. I mean, since when do we ever make demands on Israel? It's been a long time.
I don't know, but I that's obviously distressing. Interesting conversations I've ever had. I had with a very spiritually attuned, very smart friend of mine, and I was saying, I'm a man and I hate lying, and I just want to be honest about it. Like, people do, bad sexual stuff, and I don't, but I don't judge that much, because you're like, we're all in the wrong circumstance capable of anything. But I said to this person, I don't get the underage girl thing. That's they're not into it. They're kids. Maybe I have too many kids or something. I'm not being self-righteous, I'm just being honest.
No,
I just don't get that. I don't see any appeal at all.
It's a pathological obsession. I mean, Epstein was into girls with braces specifically.
Exactly. So what is that? And the conventional explanation is, maybe I'm being too honest, but I think this is really revealing, because it's not about sex. It's a spiritual thing. And I said, what is that? And this friend of mine said, it's the thrill of destroying innocence. That's what it is.
Yeah.
And that is the definition of evil. That is Satan right there. It's taking something pure. I guess this is maybe, I'm the only person who never thought of this. Maybe you already have. I had not thought of that. I was like, it's not just a sexual attraction. Like, oh, I think, underage girls with braces are hot. They're not. No normal person thinks that. That's bizarre. No, the idea is that I'm destroying something that's pure.
Yeah, and throughout history.
Well, that's Satan acting. Sorry.
Throughout history, people have looked at that as something that confers power. That's what child sacrifice is.
Exactly.
And where people get that idea, I don't know, but it's apparently deeply ingrained enough.
It's not an idea. It's a spiritual reality. And it's like the core of the Christian message, where, Satan says at the end of the 40 days of temptation to Christ, we bow down before me, and I'll give you all this power. And that's clearly the arrangement, which is explicit or not, but it's real not nonetheless, between leaders when they kill in a wanton way, which most of them do, and when they destroy beauty and innocence. You're doing that in exchange for power, and it is a real trade. That's all real.
Absolutely. And I think he's talking about me there, as that's what I've talked to Tucker about it, his experiences. We're going to go to break, and we're going to come back with William F. Jasper, who is the head of the John Birch Society and also the editor of the New American Magazine. He is the expert on the globalists.
Studios, it's Alex Jones.
All right, for the balance of the hour, the president of the John Birch Society, the editor of the New American Magazine, thenewamerican.com, William F. Jasper. And more than probably anybody else, just in general, my knowledge of the globalist system is from the John Birch Society, and this guy particularly, their most prolific filmmaker, writer, journalist, you name it, now the head of it. And again, I had family grew up that had all their materials, all of it, even before, had all the Cleon Skousen books. I grew up around it, so I knew it. And, my dad hosted anti-communist shows when he was in high school in Dallas. Or he would drive up to Dallas from the countryside south of Dallas. And so I just kind of grew up around it. But they've had the best track record. They also do report cards on Congress and more. But just to put a finer point on this, because I see a bunch of stuff on X and everywhere, my phone blowing up. Am I done with Trump or am I still with Trump? I never said I was done with Trump. I said 13 days ago when this fiasco started, I said, this is the worst Streisand effect ever. I said, Trump's behind it last Monday. And then, of course, people said, you're a traitor. It's Bondi. And Trump came out. No, it's me. He said, shut up, move on. And I needed to figure out what that was. I made calls and things went on. And then Trump came out and said they've spiked the file with a bunch of garbage. Comey, Brennan, Clapper, which we know have been running the file. And I knew all that stuff back at the time. Turned out I was being spied on by them and the NSA and the FBI as part of the same project trying to find dirt. That's all come out in multiple sources, documents, court, you name it. So I chewed the same dirt with Trump, literally. I know this stuff upwards and backwards, take 100 hours to even cover what I know. Just did a lot of it in the last few hours you saw. And so I said when this Wall Street Journal thing popped, I said it's going to be poison pills. I didn't know it'd be fake drawings they won't show you. But next it'll be Melania's been a prostitute and Epstein. None of that's true. They already did that. The Jane Does that were fake, we're going to have that. And Trump then learned that when he sent the FBI to get the files. He's like, oh, my God, again? And he's doing this on a bunch of issues behind the scenes. He just starts yelling at people and says, nope, we're not doing that. And he's not going to even describe it, which then he finally learned was not good and has now said, okay, go to the actual court grand jury stuff with Ghislaine and with Epstein and bring it out. So people are asking me, and I want to go to this first one. We have Jasper, then move into all the other issues that I got him on about. Well, obviously, this is front and center. And what the globalists are doing while we're distracted with this is that I see the debate. Oh, Jones has turned on Trump because the media misrepresents it. Or people go, oh, he's paid off the Democrats to do this. Or, oh, suddenly Alex is defending Trump, so that means he didn't like the blowback he got. No, I've never seen the audience more outraged and agreeing with me. But I don't do what the audience wants. I'm going to explain something. I don't do any of this for money. I've been offered $50 million personally a year before the globalists all sued me by the richest man in the world at the time. And people said, well, they'll release it. It was an off-the-record thing. It wasn't a criminal offer. It was criminal. I would reveal it. And I had a bunch of other stuff like that. So I'm all about making money and being secure and having nice house and car and stuff if I can do it morally. But money is literally on my hierarchy of needs way down at the bottom, okay? It's all about changing the world. It's all about taking on tyrants. What I've done for 31 years on air is consistent. I've just learned more and gotten more sophisticated. And everything William F. Jasper for 50 years has done is consistent and is continual. And so it's not about defending myself. It's about, a lot of these influencers and other people, they get money and they do this and they just ride bandwagons and they do talking points. We don't do that. What Trump did was a disaster, was the worst behavior ever to create a Streisand effect. And I said, I've never seen any evidence of this, but this looks bad. And I've got more and more upset because I have to do that. And a bunch of influencers have said, back off it at first. Now have had to agree with me. But I'm not here trying to win, the high school class presidency or something, okay? I'm here as a leader to change the world. When I believe something's wrong and the herd's going the wrong direction, a leader goes the other direction. And usually real leaders don't even get to see their victory in their lifetime. I've been so blessed, I've got to see total vindication in spades. Now, enough about me. That's where I stand. That's why this is changing and nuanced as we look at it. And if it came out Trump was involved in something real and bad, I will come out against him as soon as I know it's accurate, instantly. I can't even control myself, okay? Integrity is not something you have. It's something you are, in my experience, okay? Courage is not something you have. You are courage, all right? And what's really going on with Trump has happened to me to a lesser extent. When you don't give in to pressure and persecution, and you don't act like a victim, and you get stronger, you get aggressive, you get meaner, you get smarter, and it's not demonic energy, it's more berserker energy, but I have to control it all the time because I get to where, when you don't have fear of these people, a little bit of fear I think is good. I'm gonna go to our guest. But the problem is once it's all gone, you are a maniac. And I wanted to talk about this last few months. I wanted to hold off because enemies would use it, but yeah, I've told the Russians, the Chinese on air, you better tread softly, and the Democrats too, because Trump has, he's not nuts, but grumpy old man, you ain't seen it. I mean, he is done. Okay, I'm going to shut up now and go to William F. Jasper to give us our take on this and overall and what the globalists are doing, the big global power grabs they're trying to sneak through, and all the things that are going on, a huge new issue of the New American Magazine. You want the blueprint of what's happening, it's right there, thenewamerican.com, William F. Jasper on X. All right, William, thanks for holding while I said that. I just needed to because James O'Keefe's coming the next hour. I want to do a commercial-free podcast for 2 hours with you soon. You can send your whole list and videos. We'll do a tour de force, but I haven't talked to you. I haven't seen your views on this. I want to know what it is. I respect it. Please tell us what you think.
You're talking about the Epstein.
This whole
Trump.
insane fiasco.
Yeah, immediately that's what I thought. Oh my gosh, why would he take this stand? You've seen all of the explanations from people on across the political spectrum. The first thing people say is it's because he's in it, because he went to Epstein Island, etc. I don't believe that's the case. If it is true, if the evidence shows that, then I would condemn him the same as anyone else. But the Biden administration, the globalists behind it, have had that evidence for all this time. And they did everything possible to destroy him. They tried to impeached him. They tried to use the 25th Amendment on him. They tried internal coups. They torpedoed him every which way by the deep state, all the different intelligence agencies, the deep state swamp agents, attacked him numerous times. All of the media, all of the globalist media attacked him mercilessly, relentlessly. They, as you've pointed out, they used lawfare against him, from Fani Willis to Jack Smith to all the rest of them. Then you had all the different states' attorney generals and lawfare going on, trying to keep him out of the election. So they've tried everything to get rid of him. Do you think they would not have used the Epstein material on him if they had it? So, yes, we know that he had some engagement or relationship with Jeffrey Epstein going back years ago. I don't know what the most recent one would be, but early 2000s, but most of it was 80s or 90s from everything that I've seen. And keep in mind, Epstein was a predator, and regardless of what Alan Dershowitz says, Epstein, I believe all of the evidence shows that he was an intelligence asset. The question is, which intelligence agency or agencies? The CIA, the Mossad, the KGB, all of the above.
Well, I was about to say, you're an expert on this, so am I, just from history and experiencing it. But for those that don't know, Ian Fleming wrote the James Bond novels. He was high-level OSS than MI6, and he's explaining Spectre has people in the KGB, in the MI6, in the CIA, and is manipulating, and that's really how these groups work. So you can have somebody who's even a contractor or not even an official asset who's actually in charge of compartmentalized operations from outside globalist groups. So people are just now getting this, heard this interview with a historian. It's like, unbelievable. He was a freelancer with the CIA, Mossad, and MI6. Of course, but from what I know, Maxwell had the family franchise from her dad, who was Mossad, MI6, and KGB on record, and so, of course, the real operatives aren't officially in it because then there's no oversight. People don't understand how this works, and I can't believe they're just now figuring it out.
Well, and also the MSS, the Ministry of State Security of China. I mean, he had operations with China as well. So, I mean, we know from the Swalwell case and others, the Midwest mayor's cases with the Chinese honeypots, that this is standard operating procedure. You want to, I mean, and it goes back a long ways. It's just that the CIA and the KGB and the MSS have been, and the Mossad have become experts at this. If you want to have leverage on politicians, on financiers, on business titans, the best way is to compromise them, and with drugs, with bribery, with gambling, or with girls, or for those who are perverse with little kids, little boys. So we know that's a standard operating procedure. It is in all of the intelligence agencies. And so if they had this information on Trump, I believe they would have used it already.
100%. He would have buckled, and then they wouldn't have gone after him because he'd be working for them. And so here's
Right.
the bottom
If
line.
they were able to, if they were able to squeeze him enough to get him to do what they wanted him to do, or to back off on the things that they don't want him to do, all of his anti-globalist measures, they would have done it by now. So what are some of the other possibilities for why he would do this? It's a colossal mistake politically. He really does need all of the MAGA supporters who are demanding this, who he promised to them that we would get to the bottom of this. This is not a side issue. This is really a core issue. If we have this kind of corruption in our government and this kind of espionage in our government at the highest levels and in our financial circles, the country will not survive because we will not be able to get any kind of true policies put in place. What's the other explanation for it? Well, how did they convince him to do this? We knew that there what they released back in February, phase one, was nothing. I already had all those documents from the court cases. You probably did too. You probably already had shown them.
Absolutely.
Black book, the flight logs, all of
Only
that.
thing new was, I think, Ehud Barak. So the Israeli prime minister. So, I mean, I now know what happened. I've reverse engineered it. I've confirmed it with a bunch of sources, and now the White House is like, yeah, you figured it out. He wouldn't tell anybody, but now he says that's it. They now have the files that they grabbed from the FBI that wouldn't give it to the FBI in D.C. in March. And Trump's like, yeah, release it. And then they come back and they go, sir, it's the recycled Jane Does that didn't exist. It's your wife being, a hooker for Epstein, which we know is not true. We've already been over this. And it's a bunch of other weird stuff that Maureen Comey stuck in the cases. And I was told this over the weekend and had figured it out, but I didn't want to release it yet. Now we see them rolling it out, and all the rest of it is now going to be rolled out. And Trump just blew up because he's like another Russiagate, and he was very grumpy old man about it and just said, hey, if you like what I'm doing, be with me. It's the same liars, Comey, Brennan, and it is them that were over the file, as you said. So this all makes sense now. And then now that Trump was presented with what I've been saying the last few days, he basically said, yeah, but he goes, I'm not going to, and so exactly, he basically threw a fit. But I believe now this is going to backfire on Comey, Brennan, and Clapper, and ensure, because I've been told by the Justice Department, I mean high up, that I've talked to a lot the last 3 days, I mean right up there, that no, they now are going to try to indict Brendan, Clapper, and Comey. I've been told by Roger Stone, I'm going to stop right there, and he usually is very tepid and doesn't have a lot of faith. He said, no, he believes it's going to happen. So I think they've really misjudged. This is not the old Trump, William F. Jasper.
Yeah, I think so. I think he's going to recover. So here's the thing. We remember back in Trump 45, right in the first year, I believe it was in 2017, we had the anonymous New York Times, I'm in the resistance in the belly of the beast, and we're sabotaging the Trump administration from within, and boasting about this, about how all of these people from previous administrations were in there. And we're not going to carry out Trump's plans. Every day we're working to try to subvert it. Turns out later it was Miles Taylor who admitted it later on. The New York Times had published this as a way, as gleefully, just like the Time magazine one by Molly Ball after the 2020 election, saying all of these groups, disparate groups, big unions, big labor, big business, big tech, big pharma, all came together, big media, to find a way to stop Trump. So they have very deep swamp connections in everyone, in the FBI, DOJ, DOD, Department of Homeland Security, all of the key agencies. They're doing everything every day. People who haven't been rooted out yet, who haven't been purged. And at the FBI and DOJ, we know that when they sent up to New York to get the files on Epstein, the guy in charge up there, they had to root him out. And when he was kicked out of the FBI. You see it on the news coverage there. All of these employees of the FBI office there in New York, they're all out there either clapping for him, praising him, or crying because he's leaving. These are all deeply embedded subversives within the government who are trying to obstruct the legally, licitly, validly elected
Well, he
president of the
said, the
United
head of the
States.
FBI in New York said, I'm a Marine. We're dug in. Trump's the enemy. Don't give them anything they want. And then they leak, they've got 14 terabytes of Epstein material. And of course, it's pure crap and a bunch of poison pills. It's so obvious but Trump has not articulated that. And I've now confirmed from FBI sources, White House sources, everything that I figured out and pieced together, that's what they're saying it is. So how do you think Trump should respond to this now?
Yeah, so this is the Operation, what is it, the hurricane. This is
Crossfire Hurricane.
Crossfire Hurricane all over
Oh, it's a Crossfire
again.
Hurricane crew. It's the very same people.
Yeah, and so they had all of the files, all of the evidence. They could purge the stuff that they wanted to get rid of that would compromise any of their people, and insert files and bogus material, just like we saw with the Crossfire Hurricane. I mean, it's a tough thing. I believe they still have to release it. There's a way. The FBI has the resources. They have the people there to sort out what things are false that were inserted, when they were inserted, and they should make this should become the issue on by which
absolutely
they will
the poison pill should be hoisted on their own petard, and we already know the first salvos are out of the criminal cases in New York run by Maureen Comey, and the fact that she got axed finally yesterday shows that Trump is in a rage over this because he's so busy he didn't even know, and I confirmed this with people that talked to him last night, he didn't even know that Comey's daughter, because Trump doesn't know all this stuff. He doesn't follow all this.
Sure, sure. I mean, when you think of the thousands of people that are embedded in all of these agencies, um, but someone should have within the Justice Department known this and had purged her out long ago. But so one has to believe that we still have hundreds, thousands in the various agencies that are doing these things.
Oh, they have to do polygraph test. I've been talking to task force leaders and others, and they just say, you don't understand. We've been given $1 billion for this task force, but these people lie. I mean, they have to do research on each person. Ed Martin's been given 800 plus employees, but he goes, I could take years making sure I've even got the right people.
Yeah, I mean, so what you have to do is search their social media, and they've purged a lot of that already. They've already deleted a lot of that stuff. You've got to do individually, person by person. But if you put everybody in a polygraph as a test as a way to begin, you're going to be able to sort out and weed out a large number of them.
Stay right there, sir.
I mean,
I want to come back and talk about big agenda, the global issue report card on Trump, and more. William F. Jasper, the top expert in general overall knowledge of the globalist. The Obama administration manufactured intelligence to create the Russian collusion hoax. Yes, it wasn't just Hillary and the Democrats. We already knew that, but now it's all come out in the last few months. More now released. This is how they ran the operation. So Trump and his people have to get this. They have to go on total offense. They've done the right thing, saying release all the grand jury information. Now we've got classic Democrat operatives. Senator Durbin says, oh, we're hearing that anything about Trump, when they got the Epstein files from the Democrats at the New York FBI they were hiding in March, Pam Bondi does the right thing because Trump's like, yeah, release it. But he didn't review it. She doesn't. They send it out to the field offices, which you do in a real investigation. And then the FBI comes back and says, you're in here. So they go, well, then flag it so we can see it. That's normal. Now they're saying it's a cover-up. Now, if this goes the other direction, I'll report it and say, my God, I was wrong. But none of the evidence and the logic we just went over the last 30 minutes with a very smart guy, William F. Jasper, adds to that. Everything points towards a setup with poison pills. Closing analysis on that. I want to get into big picture, what the globalists are up to while we're busy distracted with this. And your report card so far on President Trump. Go ahead.
Yeah, so let's start with some very good news. Maybe you've already covered it today, but it just happened today. and that is that the Department of State, in collaboration with the Department of Health and Human Services, I just found out about this a couple of hours ago. James Rogoski, who writes a great newsletter and has been in the forefront of fighting the pandemic treaty, the pandemic agreement of the UN WHO. He just alerted us this morning in his email that big surprise, Trump administration, Department of State and Health and Human Services transmitted the U.S. official rejection of the 2024 amendments to the international health regulations. This is a big deal because these international health regulations were amendments that were going to be put onto, and still are, the World Health Organization, passed the pandemic treaty last year, May of last year. And just a couple of days ago, on the 15th of July, had their first working group meeting and announced that they were selecting all of their world experts who are going to be running the World Health Organization pandemic agreement. So this rejection today, one day before the deadline, July 19th, if we didn't put it in by July 19th, then we couldn't at a later date say, well,
I did not know this. This is, explain how
Yeah.
massively important this is.
Okay, so what this did was they were getting so much pushback all over the world after COVID about the grabbing for this pandemic treaty power because it was becoming more and more well known beyond fringe tinfoil hat people like you and me that the World Economic Forum, with its Great Reset and all of the other globalists, were pushing this through the UN with big pharma, with Pfizer and all the rest of them, to give the World Health Organization dictatorial health powers. We already saw in 2020 and 2021 under the COVID dictatorship, where the whole world, the whole planet, all of humanity, for the first time in human history, had been on lockdown. We couldn't go to church. We couldn't run our businesses, couldn't open our businesses. Millions of businesses, hundreds of millions of jobs were lost. And all the big guys, though, were, Bezos with Amazon and all the rest of the big box stores, they were allowed special privileges. But we weren't allowed to go see Granny in the hospital, and many of our relatives died without any comfort of their family, even able to touch them or see them. First time in history. How did the World Health Organization accomplish this? It didn't have the power to actually close everything down, but all of the national and state and subnational health authorities automatically took the WHO as the authority, and they followed the WHO policies. And so we saw the beginnings of this national health dictatorship. So right now, if you go on the Council on Foreign Relations, the leading globalist brain trust, if you go on their website, they have a special sub website called Think Global Health. They've been behind this. We've been covering this in the New American since before the COVID pandemic. They have been pushing global health along with Bill Gates and all the rest of the globalists, Klaus Schwab, that we have to have all global health, not just human health, but animal health, plant health, environmental health. So it all has to be worked together. So we need a global plan. And so this World Health Assembly, which is part of the World Health Organization, had this international health regulation amendments that they were going to tag on to the pandemic treaty. There was so much pushback all over the globe, and this is where it broke out into and brought a lot of other people to understand all of this, because people could see what happened to them during COVID and how the pandemic treaty was going to be a, a disaster on
Which the
steroids.
UN and Tedros and all of them admit are training wheels for, quote, medical martial law and, quote, training us for carbon lockdowns. This is literally putting us into global medical martial law.